Hi, everybody. It's December 19th, 2024, and this is the weekly Backdrop Dev meeting. We've got a handful of folks here today. There's conflict with all of our leadership team is in another meeting at the same time, but we'll do our best to carry on here and talk about what's happening in Backdrop 1.30. The feature freeze is or code free. Yeah, feature freeze is right around the corner. We've got 12 days until uh, feature freeze, which is normally actually 13 days, normally on January 1st. But as is our normal policy, it's good for us to clarify that if feature freeze lands on a holiday, we push it to the first non-holiday or non-weekend day. And since January 1st is literally always a holiday, feature freeze lands the day after or at the end of the weekend. So for us, that'll be January 2nd, 2025. So we actually have a couple extra days in there to work on our features. And of course, the release of Backdrop 1.30 will be January 15th next month. So less than a month to go. Anyway, before I get too much into that topic, do some introductions. My name is Nate Lampton. I'm Quick Sketch on the internet. I'm a core committer and technical lead for the Backdrop project, and I'm joined here by Luke and Justin. Justin, can you give a quick intro?
Sure, I'm Justin Kaiser, Kaiser JB on the internet. Uh, I work for a nonprofit in Muncie, Indiana, and like contributing to the backdrop.
Thanks, Justin. And Luke?
I'm Luke McCormick. I'm a web consultant in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm involved in all sorts of things. So I'll just I'm Cell Ear on various forums.
Great. Yeah, thank you folks for joining today. So the contrib update for this week, we had two new contrib modules released since last week, Facet API, Pretty Paths, that's all together, one module, and Image Class module.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right. So for this week, yeah, we're going to talk about Backdrop 1.30. As I mentioned, I'm going to start sharing my screen. Um, so same as last week. Yeah, here we go. Um, uh, Tim Erickson has St. Paul Tim has been managing this document that summarizes the 1.30 key issues, the ones that are completed and the ones that are yet to be done, and kind of summarizing what needs to happen on each one of them. So rather than maintaining my own agenda for this at the end of a feature freeze when he's maintaining this document, this is a great place to go and look. Yeah, here's the uh, link itself to this document. So uh, let's see. A lot of things got completed this week, which was great. So we already had Fast Token Browser, the description text, converting recent content block to a view. Uh, that got finished real recently. That's issue 146, one of our oldest issues in the queue. Great to see that
Wow.
one knocked off. Yeah, it's funny because every listing in all of Backdrop has been converted to a view since basically Backdrop 1.0. But this recent content block is like the least important block in all of Backdrop. And so it just wasn't very important for anybody. It wasn't a priority for anybody to get it done. Because this block is uh, not used out of the box, and it's a strange, awkward thing. It probably was created for the dashboard module in Drupal 7, but since nobody ever used the dashboard module, it just wasn't very high priority. So my favorite thing about converting this block to a view is that it sets us up to deprecate it so that then we can remove the whole thing altogether. So now there's like a little transition period here where everybody will convert their blocks to views, and then we can just delete the view, and existing sites continue to have the view that was created, and so we can just stop shipping it out of the box. But that is a follow-up, post 1.30. Let's see, new this week, this add parent menu selector to the add and edit link form. This is a very nice little addition that just breaks up. So right now, this is what the option to select a menu item, what it looks like when you're editing a menu link. And it shows every menu that is available in one giant drop-down list. And that can be a big issue if you've got the administration menu, for example, because it always has a huge number of things in it. So now it very nicely just splits this up into two select lists. So first you choose the menu, and then it creates a smaller select list of just that menu's content to place that menu item inside of it. So that was great. Yeah, big thanks to the folks that put this one together. In the end, the real tricky thing was contrib compatibility. And so with a lot of work and effort, Doc Wilmot came up with a solution that is compatible with all of the contrib modules. So if a contrib module modifies the form, what ends up happening is that it just falls back to the previous behavior, which is exactly what we're looking for. So that's a nice little feature. This add a preview of the background image to the hero block configuration form. So I'll just pull up my local, which hopefully is working. So the hero block, this one here. Oh shoot. I am not on a version that has it. I'm changing branches. Okay, here we go. Now we've done it. Okay, great. Oh, darn. I have to do the manual cache clear. Okay, here we go. So now we're back. This is my local is service unavailable for some reason. I have no idea what's going on. Okay, well, I won't use my local. That's sad. So what this one does is really simple though. It just adds a preview above this block configuration form, so it makes it act more like a normal image field. But what I really liked about this in the end, here we go, is, and sorry, this is in German, but it added the preview image above it, which is great, but it also added the image browser next to the button. And that's like, yeah, absolutely. That was just a form API property to enable the image browser on this field. So now you can select an existing image in addition to uploading one. So very nice little UI improvement there. And then this last one, this one's more developer oriented, but the link module, provides the ability to create a link field, but only on entities like nodes and users. You can add this link field that includes the link title, the link URL, the open in new window checkbox. And what this feature does is it converts it into a form API element. So instead of it just being available in field API, now it's available at the form API level. So you can place a link field anywhere in any form, and it doesn't need to only be wrapped in the field API. So nice little addition there. So that brings us to the the issues that are still in flight here, and there are a lot of them. There's a lot going on right now. The issue that I'd like to see moved forward as quickly as possible is this issue for adding support for supplemental CSS selectors. What it sounds a little, uh, tech oriented, and it is. And there's not a lot of end user uh, benefit directly, but what this allows us to do is this allows us to make CSS adjustments inside of the basis theme so that we can fix the major basis layout issues. The one that drives me most crazy is, here we go, this screenshot right here. This happens right as you install Backdrop, only the message says like, congratulations, you've installed Backdrop. And this is the first thing people see is this weird issue with basis that the message area has this awful margin around it. And this problem was created when we added the 3UP cards, that the margin on the message area became strange compared to what it had been. So if we add this feature, the supplemental CSS selectors, then we can fix various CSS issues in basis like this one in a backwards compatible way without affecting people's websites. So I'm going to jump down to the sandbox. So conceptually, what this does is it adds to the body class a CSS selector like this. So for the 1.30 release, it makes it so the body class has a additional class of update dash the version of backdrop. So this next version is 1.30 or 1-30 is what it's converted to when it's a class. And then inside of this prefix, then we can make CSS changes. But existing sites won't automatically opt into the new CSS updates. They'll stay on the previous non-prefixed versions. New sites that install, though, will set their initial version to whatever version was installed at the time. So this new installs on 1.30 will start using the update -1-30 CSS addition. So new sites will get the new CSS changes. Existing sites won't get the CSS changes. So it took a long time to land on this particular solution. It's one of the better options that, well, actually the best option that we came up with. And the concern right now, or the point of contention, is not the technical solution, but the user interface, and whether or not there should be one. So I'll show you what this looks like.
Are
So
the point release updates cumulative, or do you just need one of them? Like, will people be loading multiple?
yeah, they're cumulative. So this is a Backdrop 1.30 install, and so this one, because it was installed on Backdrop 1.30, it's got this update here. But for a proof of concept, Tim also put in 2 previous versions, a bug fix release and an earlier minor release. And so this has the three update classes, the 1.30 update, the 1.28.4, and 1.23. And these two don't actually have any value, but it demonstrates what would happen if you had multiple versions of Backdrop. So when Backdrop 1.31 comes out, if it has additional CSS values in it, then it would be added to this class list here. And it's not every version of Backdrop. Basis specifies an array of what versions it actually included changes in. So we'll only add additional body classes if there's an additional CSS in that version. So the controversy here is the basis settings page this change adds in this collapse field set down here that lets you modify the behavior. And so the default behavior is you get CSS changes up until your version of Backdrop when you first installed. So once you install Backdrop, like on 1.30, for example, future CSS changes might come out, but your site won't automatically adopt them. This is making it so that we can make improvements to Basis, but it only affects new installs. It doesn't affect current installs. And we've gone back and forth about how important it is for sites that are running Basis right now, whether or not they can opt into changes in the future. I think that it's a valuable feature to give people, but our opposite side is that the option here is confusing. And if we're concerned primarily about new sites having a good experience when they log in and look at their basis settings page, we've got this setting that is irrelevant for new installs because new installs already have all of the CSS updates. So there's nothing that this isn't providing any value for new installs. So yeah, here are the options though. So the default is basically locked to CSS changes at the time of install. All updates means that as new versions of core come out, your site will automatically opt into adding the additional body classes every time CSS changes are made. And I think that this is valuable for sites that are running vanilla basis and they're not subtheming it. There's no chance of them creating other CSS if they're using their site in a particular way that's just like, I just want my site to look as good as possible and I trust the core team to make improvements to the appearance of my site. And so when I update my site, it will update the CSS used by the theme. But this is, not going to be a good solution for sites that have subthemed or added CSS in any other way, like CSS injector or inline CSS, like in their content or something like that. And then lastly, there's specific version, which just gives you a drop down to choose if your site is only compatible with CSS up to a certain version, then you can choose or you can incrementally go up, and if your site breaks, then you can go backwards versions until it doesn't break. Or you can select none, which
Does that link to the online documentation go to something specifically about this issue or just to the general pool of
it
documentation?
right now it goes to this page, which isn't even relevant. I think that a documentation page needs to be written. But I would
Yeah, ideally something that tells some version of that story that you just told there, so that
yeah.
people know why they're doing that.
Well, this is the question though, is like, should we have this at all? The way the pull request is written, I'm really happy with um, the uh, the overall implementation. I can do this actually from the site here. So this is a sandbox. I'll go over to um, the configuration manager so that we can look at our config files. And there's a basis settings.json file that is added by this change. And inside of it are the uh, it's the stored configuration for that UI. So this is the version of core that we're going up to. And then this is the the three radio buttons about like what our choices are. So if I wanted like all updates, it would be all updates. Obviously, knowing what goes in here is hard for people to know. You'd have to dig around through the code or find documentation to know how to change this. But we could just yank out the user interface and the ability to manipulate this value would still remain. So so you could still have the ability, but not have the ability to change it, but there wouldn't be a user interface for it. So it is nice that we could yank out the user interface, and that would be a compromise that we could get the CSS improvements in without the UI, because we'd still have the ability to do the changes. And so that would be a quick way of accelerating this. If we just dropped the user interface, then all parties would be happy that we can just increment on the CSS changes.
And if the options for that config settings were in the documentation, people who knew how to do it could still change it.
Yeah. And on top of that, we've been doing some testing here that subthemes also have the ability to override this setting in their .info file. So a subtheme like thesis could, in its .info file, use the theme settings ability to override the base theme setting to set it to a particular version, or to disable all updates if it wanted to fix certain issues in its own way. Yeah. Uh, Luke, do you want to weigh in? Just your thoughts?
Uh, uh, the balance, it's funny. I can see, as obviously has been being kicked around, both sides of the issue. Is it more complicated to have options that will confuse people that don't know what to do with them, or to not have options for people that want to do something with them?
Yep. That sums it all up. So, yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm in favor of the UI, but I'm even more in favor of getting this in before the 1.30 release so that we can fix the messages um, issue. So this is the thing that really drives me nuts is if I save the layout here, this margin just drives me nuts. And
I'll bet.
there's a pull request to already fix this issue that Wes, the original designer, made for this. But we can't apply it without affecting everybody's site right now. And once we have these CSS selectors, then we just tack on the CSS prefix to the existing fix, and yeah, now this problem will be solved.
Yeah, just from the hip, my thought is to add that UI so that it's not delaying the stuff in the background. Despite though it pains me like adding like more features to already like a complicated UI experience. But I think at some point there should be, maybe could be like a larger scale reduction in complexity of things, and it might make sense to sweep that in with other like UI rationalization efforts. But as a one-off, I think it's not a lot of incremental damage. Might as well.
Yeah, it's kind of the death by a thousand paper cuts. It's just one more option, one more option. Yeah, totally.
It is one more paper cut.
Yeah. What I do like about this solution, regardless of whether or not there's a user interface or not, is that this is limited to basis. This is not like adding a new system-wide capability. It kind of is, because other modules and themes could imitate this solution, but this is confined, the complexity is confined to basis. And how many sites are actually using basis, and how many of them are visiting their theme settings page. Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess probably if
it's
you're
only
using basis.
applicable.
Oh, go ahead.
It's only applicable if you've subthemed basis, right?
No, if you're running vanilla basis, you know, this messages fix will only exist if you reinstall your site, and you won't get the messages fix if you're running basis. Uh, um, yeah, even without subtheming it. I mean, you can get the fix by going in and modifying the config file, or if there's the user interface, then going in here and changing this option from default to all updates, and then that would get your existing site the message fix.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Does. It seems unfortunate. It seems like it'd be desirable
Hi, Irina.
to
I
to
have a
get.
question. I'm here.
Okay, one second. I'll let Luke finish
Yes.
his thought.
Yeah, it seems worthwhile to get this kind of front end usability fix accessible to users that might not be following every turn, every update there. You can't actually like uninstall Basis and reinstall because it comes with the system, right? So it
Yeah, and even if you did, it's actually locked to your install version of Backdrop, not Basis itself. So yeah.
which you can't change, right?
Well, yeah, you can't you can modify the config file in systemcore.json, but we don't want you to
Ah,
do that because this pull request also includes telemetry to start reporting the
oh,
initial install versions. And so we don't want people to change this value just to modify basis.
oh,
Um, but that's why we introduced the basis config file. So yeah, I mean you can still get it, but you just need to modify the basis settings file.
yeah.
Um,
I've been
yeah,
on
so
both sides of this during this conversation.
yeah. Yeah, so that's the whole yeah, like I mean it's not really that hard. If you want all updates, you just say all updates, and then I can go over here to import and say import that with all updates. And now it's got the same effect. Um
Mhm.
yeah, so now if I reload this, it will have changed that to all updates. It was default before. Sorry, I changed the radio, but yeah. So
the only piece I would see is just getting getting that little workflow to sign up for the latest changes just somewhere like in the README of Basis or something, so something where someone looking for it would find it.
Oh, that's a good idea. We don't have a README for Basis, I don't think. There are very few like project specific READMEs in core. But that would be yeah, a good suggestion.
Tim recommended a documentation page.
Yeah. That's also, I mean, yeah. That at the very like we should have a documentation page regardless of where this lands, because with the UI, we need something to link to, and without a UI, we need somewhere to explain it. Um, but I like the README idea too, because that way people don't need to find the link. It's like it would be right there, and maybe the README contains the link. But yeah, I like that idea. So yeah, we've
Will you
gone on
turn
both.
off color module so
Oh
people
yeah.
can see what that looks like?
Mhm.
So this is my
So
biggest concern is that Basis doesn't have any settings other than this.
yeah,
Ooh,
so it tells you to
wow.
turn on color module if you want to use it. Otherwise, it has the CSS selectors. Before this pull request, there's no field set on here. It's just the message and the save button.
So sorry, Nate, we just popped in late because the PMC meeting ended, but did you solicit feedback on this?
Yep. That's
Okay.
exactly what I've been doing.
How much have you covered already?
All of it, I think.
Okay. So yeah, this is like a 1 to 5% feature that we're thinking about including in core. And so just sort of how important is this in the UI is the question. Like the feature will be there regardless, but like, do we really need a UI for it is the question. But the code looks really good. It's like pretty much ready to go.
Yep, exactly. So I mean, there's other CSS fixes that we want to get in. Um, and yeah, if our compromise is yoink the user interface just so that we can get the API so that we can start making the CSS fixes, that's going to be a better outcome than waffling on this for another 10 days and then not getting in this feature or any of the CSS fixes. So
Is it easier to move forward with or without the user interface?
I'm hearing that it's easier to move forward without it.
I also feel like we don't really know exactly what options we need in it yet. Like we're sort of guessing, and I think it would be great if we could get the feature and get the changes, like get all the CSS fixes in. And then even if we came back in like a later release and we're like, okay, now that people have used it, we know that we need these 5 options, we can add them. Or right now we're like, we think these 3, like we've got use cases for these 3, but like we don't really know if there's anything else or yeah. So my question is, or general thought is like, let's just get in the stuff we need to make the changes. And then once we know for sure what that UI should be like, put in the UI. And maybe it is exactly what it is now. And that'll be easy because we already have that done.
yeah, one of the things that I mean, we can solve this in some other way, but uh, I guess with documentation, but without the UI, there's nowhere in core that actually describes what the available options are. You'd have to go digging into the pre-process functions to figure out what the valid options are. And yeah, and so yeah, and we are actually kind of locking ourselves into these options because that's what the config file will support. Um,
What
so
is default? Did you already explain what this UI means? Like what is specific and what does default
yeah,
Mhm.
yep,
do?
yep.
Okay. So that's another thing too, is right, looking at this, nobody's going to know what that is. Um, But yeah, I do think if we add a README, that would be a good place to be like, this is what's currently supported. And we could even put a note in there that's like may change in the future. Oh, maybe we don't even have to, but yeah.
Yep. All right. And Tim's in here now too. So we got the whole gang. Um,
Tim, thank you for working on this issue. It was been stuck there for a while, and Tim was like, dang it, I'm gonna get this done. And he totally got it done. So
You gave it a boost first and moved it forward, and
yeah, thank you for that,
it's
Tim.
it's
A lot of-
been fun. I've been doing harder things than I normally do in the agenda. So
My favorite part is in your last comment, you're like, I feel totally confident that I can write a module to do this. And I was like, yeah.
yeah, so
oh,
we've already
what
yeah,
did you decide?
discussed the whole thing. Well, what did we decide? Now that's the great question. So, we haven't decided anything yet, but we have said that if we remove the user interface, then that would make it so that we could go ahead and proceed with this and at least start getting in the CSS fixes. Um, but yeah, all those present are waffling, going, I see value in both ways.
I vote for no included UI, and Tim will write a module for the UI for it. So that'll
Or put it in Tatsu.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Tatsu, as I found out in my testing, is not actually a subtheme. It's a copy of Basis that fixes a bunch
Oh,
of stuff. But there is a subtheme called Thesis that Olaf made that is literally just a subtheme with one CSS file. And so it's like it's made to be an example subtheme of Basis.
Yeah.
That's like the only thing that it does is subtheme it and add one CSS file. It does, and which doesn't actually do anything. So you could also pop it, yeah, into Thesis and have it have that ability.
Okay.
All right. So
Tatsu did start out as a sub theme, but for reasons I won't get into, I changed it at some point.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's end that topic and
Yep.
and move on to the next thing, which
Well, just to clarify then, so have we made a decision to release it without a UI for now? At least for now, and then think about it later?
I think how about this? We move forward without the UI so that we
Mhm.
can start on the other CSS fixes,
Right.
but we don't close the door on adding the UI in 1.30.
Yeah.
So we
Okay.
still have the remaining week and a half to continue discussing, should this UI be in here or not. So
Okay.
we yank out the user interface,
Yeah.
merge the API part, and then make another pull request for just the UI.
Got
And
it.
another issue, I think, too.
Yeah, I
So
think
we can
that's a good
close this
idea.
issue. So it'll be
Okay.
like add a UI for supplemental
I
CSS.
can do that, but probably not till late tonight. What about, I mean, I assume it still needs tests, doesn't it? And is that anything you're gonna have time to help me with?
Yes, and yes. Yeah, I can do that.
I mean, one possibility, Nate, would be as if you gave me some examples of existing texts as pointed at me at them, then I might be able to modify them. But I would just need help getting started, or just do it for me, whichever you think is easier.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look into those options. Yeah, if you want to pull out the user interface, then I'll work on the test coverage.
Okay.
Okay.
And can I add one more question about this? Have you decided, once this is in, so we can then do some CSS changes? Do they have, well, did we decide on, are we just gonna go with the current tag? Is it just update dash or?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
update dash is totally fine.
Okay, and are we gonna allow for minor versions or for bug fix versions? That was another issue Jen raised. Right now, I
So
mean, I guess it doesn't matter because the code doesn't have to change for that. It's just a
that's right.
policy. It's a
Yep.
policy decision.
Yep, that's
But
right.
the-
So
The classes, they don't have a,
We can, the classes are gonna show up exactly how we enter them into the,
okay,
so, yeah, so it's really a policy decision.
yeah, so this update versions, this array right here.
Yeah.
This determines what versions have
Class shape.
updates, and
Okay.
if we by policy say it's only in minor versions, then when pull requests are filed, we're like, sorry, it needs to be in 1.31.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And it's gonna show up as we put it here, so we can put 1.31 or we could put 1.31.1. We can do either and it'll show up that way in the tag, so.
Yep.
That's great. And then one thing I put in this first CSS was like a breadcrumbs color change. I'm not sure if that was discussed anywhere specifically. Is everybody okay with that, or should we use a different example?
I haven't even looked at that yet. To be honest,
Okay.
I have completely ignored the CSS change that you put into this PR.
Same.
I thought it would be a
total-
really straightforward, simple example, and
Yeah.
it was one of the places where I felt like Basis was very opinionated, but I have not gone to see if there's like an existing issue with a discussion on it.
Well, I know which one
specifically.
Nate wants to fix, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to fix that one too, but that one
I-
seemed much harder for
Okay.
the initial pull request.
Well, the question I wanted to ask is, Nate, are we gonna accept CSS changes through the 15th, or do they have to be done by feature freeze?
Ooh,
So you
Technically, they're bug fixes.
technically the bug fixes, and they're also technically UX. So I think that they're allowed through the 15th.
Okay.
sweet.
And also the probability of a serious breaking change is very low. Like
Right.
CSS isn't going to, white screen anybody's website.
And it won't
And
even
also
affect
it's not
an
even going to
existing
affect
site.
anybody's website.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's-
because yeah.
Backwards compatible.
Yeah, because that was the whole point.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay, very good. Then I'm done.
great. Okay. Well, let's go on to the next, oh, actually, before we do this next one, because it's gonna take a little while. Actually, there's a couple of things here. Irina, did you have something you wanted to bring up before we move to another topic?
I just wanted to say a huge thank you for having these meetings while I was preparing my issue. And asked my question, I resolved it. So thank you very
Oh.
much.
Okay, great.
But
Okay,
I always have another something to talk about. And since Justin is here, I wanted to open the conversation about a process of porting modules using AI tools.
Mhm.
So Justin did a very, I still didn't write the blog post. I think I just put the note somewhere in LinkedIn, but this is a very impressive, what one of the highlights of last year was porting module called Sync, Upgrade Sync. I forgot what's the name of the module, of course.
Mhm.
I did too.
Okay,
Confi-
anyway,
con-
this is
crap.
it's extremely useful module that is a game changer for
Config direct
configuration.
save.
Config direct save. It's a game changer for site builders for doing configuration management. It's just like a big breakthrough. And we first started using it on Drupal 10, and I brought it up in the meeting, and 44 minutes later, Justin's like, okay, it's time for you to test. This is very impressive from many perspectives. But now there's next module was like, oh, Justin, do you have another 45 minutes? That module has 3 more lines. But yeah, that would be something that I would love to put on agenda and for people to think about as a demo of amazing capabilities of different systems working together. It's definitely a dev topic. I don't think I can do it myself today. I don't know AI that well, and I don't know if Justin is interested in teaching a class on using AI, but and again, within the context and with specific model, but that's something that is next on my list to do.
We might talk a little bit about this at the community meeting in 10 minutes.
Okay, I brought my ideas, and at noon I have to be at the in other meetings, so I'm like,
okay.
I can send you the name of the module if you care. Justin,
Yeah, send
name
it.
of the module is OpenID Connect, and it's available both in Drupal 10 and OpenID Connect, and it's available both in Drupal 10 and in Drupal 7. And to me, it would be quite interesting to do a comparison, like, okay, we have this, like, I get practical benefit if this module is migrated, and so does so the benefit is also for community. But also there are some other very interesting things, is like, is it better to port from Drupal 7 to Backdrop, or is it better to port from Drupal 10 to Backdrop? Because in the next 2 years, things will be, something is coded, if business logic is coded in one system, then it should be simple task. It's not a no-brainer, but it's a very simple task for AI to convert business logic from one PHP language or system to another PHP system. So my perspective is like, what is going to be happening in the next couple of years, and what's the role of this group in this changing process. And of course, happy holidays.
Yeah. Well, if you don't mind, I'll bring this back. We've got just a couple more minutes, and there's 2 more issues for 1.30, so I'm gonna bring those back in, just soliciting more feedback on these 2 issues. Well, one of them's not an issue that needs much discussion, but there's this question in Zulip about update hooks that we're running out of numbers because system module now has 99 updates in it, and what happens when we roll over to 100. because it now goes from 1099 to 1100. And the answer for this, I mean, I answered it in here, is that it's fine. Just keep going up. So we won't have a problem until we hit 2000, which is reserved for Backdrop 2.x. So multiple updates are happening right now that are going to be conflicting with each other, and yeah, we'll roll over to update 1100 and 1101, 1102 are even likely in this Backdrop 1.30 release. So that's one issue.
So no,
And then,
no Y2K problem in this case, huh?
nope, no Y2K problem. Yeah, because the other option here, like, you know, like, do we increase to 100? Like, so it'd be 10, 100. And because update.php, it literally counts upwards looking for more function names until it doesn't find anymore. It would stop counting at 6,999 because that's where we've reserved the space for Drupal 7 updates to continue to exist in Backdrop. So if you updated, the remaining Drupal 7 updates would be run first, and then it would roll backwards to 1000 and start from 1000 and start applying Backdrop updates. This is kind of a rare thing, especially at this point, but that's why this exists. Okay. So lastly, this I really like this issue. Doc Wilmot has been working on making a new UI for the login page, and this sandbox here has this applied. So this is what the new quote simplified login page looks like. And I love this, first of all. Like, it looks so good. And what this has effectively achieved is made it so that we are using the admin theme to log in. So this is great because the admin theme for huge numbers of Backdrop sites, the only people that are logging in are admins. And so giving them a little taste of you're about to enter the admin area by giving them the admin theme when they log in, it's very good. And it mimics what tons of other systems do, as Clonos has summarized here: WordPress, Joomla, Typo3, Magento, Craft, Grav. They all have these, you know, login pages, which they have it for a reason, because all of these are, you know, they're only admin areas, and Backdrop is a little bit different. That some sites like backdropcms.org, you know, we could have a lot of users that aren't admins logging in if it's a community-driven website. So what this does is there's an option of for this, and it's under user accounts, login settings. This is what needs feedback, is the user interface. Again, that's the theme of today's meeting. The user interface is the question. So it adds these login page settings. The default one is use tabs. That's the behavior that that exists currently. So it looks like this. And I really like that this also gives us the option to remove the tabs, because tons of themes don't style the tabs because they only show up for if logged in users or on this one page. So removing the tabs makes them go away, and it puts little links down here at the bottom instead for what had been the tabs. So, and then the simplified page is the one that uses the admin theme. So that looks a little bit funny in the mobile view, but yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, I love it too. I mean, I don't want to be dramatic, but this needs to get in.
That one still
Because-
has the links too.
Yeah, the simplified one still has the links. Yeah, instead of the tabs. Yeah. The real big achievement here is that, well,
But this
I-
requires that anonymous users have permission to view the administrative theme, right?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
Well,
I
So
worked on this a while ago and I remember hitting a couple of roadblocks early on and being
yeah,
like, why is this even a permission?
so I think the real breakthrough here is that Doc Wilmot figured out that you can use this function in layout module to suppress layout from having an effect on the page, which means that this page is impossible to place blocks on. And
Nice.
so that is what made this possible is there's no chance that you will accidentally put an administrative listing of content or edit links or something like that onto the login page because it's now literally impossible to put blocks on this page if you're using the simplified version.
Oh,
Um,
great.
so that solved that problem. But that's a great question um, about the admin theme. I don't know. Illustration theme. So in this pull request, at least, oh, sorry. Here we go. That's an incognito window.
Well, if you're not logged in right now, you're automatically an anonymous user, right?
Yeah.
And you can see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and this permission is not granted.
Huh.
So it's bypassing that setting to
So
make
how do
that
you get
happen.
the front end theme on this page?
You can't.
Okay, so does that say that in the description on the checkbox? I feel like this is not super high priority, but like I have a lot of sites that are like forums and stuff that people log into. So does it say that on the button?
Yeah, that's actually one of the feedback items is that it should say that this uses the admin theme and these two
Yeah.
use the front end theme.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, because I think if you want the front end theme on the simplified version, the kind of answer is
Use
use the
links.
links and
Yeah.
then theme it to make it look the way that you
Yeah.
want, or remove the blocks as needed to make it look
Yeah.
the way you want.
Okay, so we need
Uh,
just like a little UI cleanup on this form, and then otherwise it'll be perfect.
yeah, and
Okay.
test coverage.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yep. But yeah,
Always goes down.
that's the big thing is what this should look like. And there's a lot of contention right now about like, use tabs, like local tabs, or it's actually local tasks. What
Yeah.
or yeah, the terminology here and everything is the big question mark.
Yeah. But this is huge. This is what the Borg theme manually forced to happen. And so I'm so excited to see this happening as a core feature. I want this everywhere. I love it.
Yeah, I do too. And this is one where the user interface is confusing, just like the basis thing. But the trade-off is worth it, and you need the option there.
Well, and this is an 80% feature,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
everybody's gonna want this. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think we're like actually another question is like what should be the default? Like
Yeah.
upgraded sites will use tabs, which is the backwards compatible behavior. But I personally think that the
We should
simplified
switch it.
version should be the
Yeah.
default moving forward.
Totally agree.
I think so, and has a number of people said that. I think that seems to be
That's been decided.
well, I don't know if
Or
it was
not.
decided, but it's definitely moving in that direction, I think.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the comments. But go ahead, yeah.
Well, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, there's other issues in that document that I showed at the beginning of the meeting, the feature freeze document, Tim, that you've been maintaining. Thank you for that. But yeah, that's all that we've got time for, and those are the contentious ones that are both high priority and somewhat stuck. So, all right.
Okay.
Any last thoughts before we end the broadcast for today?
Who do I get to thank for that issue?
Doc
I think
Wilmot.
Doc Wilmot, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Surprise.
Surprise.
Not.
Yeah, always count on him to find a new solution or several new solutions. One of the things that is so admirable is the way that he just keeps throwing solutions out there, solution after solution after solution, until everybody's happy with it.
We're
And
like, oh,
there's
that's great.
yeah. And a lot of times it takes 3 or 4 attempts before he finds one that hits the mark. But yeah, it's great. And it's not low effort. Like there's a lot of work to make all of these different concepts, but it solves the problem because everybody gets to play around in it. They get to look at the code. Like there's very little questions about what if when he actually literally goes and builds 3 different solutions to the problem. And then it's just like pick your favorite. Add test coverage. So, all right. Yeah, let's close out for today. Thank you everybody for being here. This got exciting towards the end as more people started hopping in. So, thanks everybody. Happy holidays. Next week.
Yeah. In our next
I-
meeting, Justin's going to demo his AI module. In
Okay.
5 minutes.
The meeting after this one.
Yeah,
Okay.
meeting after this.
Okay. Jen, is there a meeting next week at this time?
Well, that's a good question.
It's the day after Christmas. It's Boxing Day in a lot of countries. That's a holiday.
I hadn't planned on there not being one, but what
Yeah,
if people in the
same.
Zoom think?
Okay. Well, we'll be here next week on December 26th because it will be the last meeting before Feature Freeze. And so yeah, but yeah, no pressure. Spend time with your families. But
Well,
we'll be working away.
And quickly, Nate, you maybe already said this, but what is New Year's Day feature freeze or January 2nd? I'm sorry.
No, I did mention this. It's going to be January 2nd, the Thursday. So it'll be the day of our next meet 2 weeks from now.
Okay, so we have a meeting on feature freeze day.
Yeah,
Right.
we have a meeting on Feature Freeze Day, and Feature Freeze Day isn't until wait. Feature Freeze is usually at the end of the holiday. Yeah, we'll just say it's the 2nd. So we'll have the 2nd to finish things up. So yeah, so we'll have a meeting and we'll be like either congratulating ourselves at getting everything done early, or we'll be frantically trying to finish 1 or 2 last issues.
Are you like the week between Christmas and New Year's? Do you have any sense on your availability? Are you
A lot of availability
okay?
is the answer. Yeah, I've had a lot of availability for weeks now because
You have.
Yeah.
You've been around a lot. It's been very much appreciated, but also take care of yourself.
Yeah, don't worry. This is primarily what I'm doing because I'm not assigned client work at the moment,
Okay.
or I have less client work. So I'm
Good.
actually not working that much more than usual.
Good.
Yeah. All right. Great. Well, thank you, everybody. Yeah, we'll end the meeting, and then yeah, there's another one after this one where Justin's going to be showing us the AI module. So thank you, everybody, again, and we'll see everybody after Christmas.